group to host us for the user group and for the pizza. As an Italian, I can tell you it was very good. It was really, you can tell. Today we are with Vic. We were thinking about what to present. Again, it's a user group, so any suggestion is more than welcome. If you want to steer the conversation on anything that is of interest of you, of anything that you tried, please raise your hand. Just speak. It's very open. The other thing that I want to say, I focus on mainframe and COBOL. So we will discuss. we will discuss about AI. But the problem is that if I get $1 for every time that I heard AI in the last year, I will be a millionaire. But let's Vic introduce himself.
Yes, Vic Pradana. I'm working with Marco closely, part of Microsoft Software Solution Engineer. So it's a kind of a new function in Microsoft Stu team, and yeah, based in Melbourne. And yeah, want to share a little bit about Agent HQ today, and share a little bit about what we do in that space. Yeah, awesome.
And while we give time to PowerPoint to start, what we are going to discuss today, I have an idea of when we were setting this user group, and because we were not running it for a while, my intention is to give you an overview of what is happening on the market, specifically on Copilot. There are some cool announcements that we have done, but most of all, also discussing how the industry itself is moving. I've been around for a while, I would say, so let me introduce myself. I work in GitHub now, but I started through Commodore 64. That was my module at the time. Yes, and the other thing that it was weird because I was doing a similar presentation yesterday, and I will talk. One of the things that took me up in this industry was what I call a Shiquarium, a Skiquarium. Does anyone knows or ever seen it? No, I'm so old. My gosh. So I will show you a little bit about that. But yeah, I got hooked on this stuff, and as I reflected on this career, but on my job, when I was going to uni, I was discussing about centralized system, and then we moved to distributed system, and then there was a revolution about networking and virtualization that led to the cloud. And today with AI, we are really in another transition. First of all, the reflection is you can have so many transitions in your life, and probably this is my last one. But it's every time that you get a transition is transformative for the industry, for the way we work, for what it means to be a developer today, and the impact that AI is having is huge. And I remember that. When I was thinking about this presentation and what we were going to discuss, I just want to talk about the journey. Even if Copilot came out between 2022 and 2023, it looks like a century ago already. And I remember when I was presenting Copilot. By the way, may I ask how many of you have used Copilot? So most part. So when it came out, it was this code assistant, and you were putting some lines, you were giving some context, and it was providing suggestion, or was auto-completing. And I still was in awe when we released chat, because it was the way of interacting in natural language. But that kind of interaction, that kind of code assisting tool is already commoditized and in the market. And I'm not shying, I mean, even because I'm so old, so they can't fire me, it's not a big deal to talk about the other solutions that are in the market. So we started with Copilot, and then suddenly the industry was smelling blood and everyone was coming. You had the Cursor, you had Klein from an open source perspective, and being typical open source, Klein was forked because someone was disagreeing, and they created the rules. And now the code assistant tool, I mean, there are plenty of solutions over there. And it's interesting to talk about how Copilot moved from being this tool that was helping you to code to be a control plane around your AI strategy in the software development lifecycle. And this is quite impactful because now you can use Copilot to do a lot of the things that a normal developer, someone that works in this industry, is during his day. And we will talk about some of the cool tech updates, and that is specifically because there are a couple of trends that I want to discuss and share with you around where we are seeing the next wave of innovation coming, specifically around Copilot CLI and how we use Copilot CLI. When we released Copilot, there was always the opportunity to use Copilot in the IDE of choice. Then we took Copilot in GitHub.com. Then you can use Copilot in mobile, and we had the Copilot CLI. That was a nice thing to have, especially for people of my age. But now that nice tool, that nice to have CLI is becoming the unlocker of a series of new innovation that is coming into the market with AI. Then finally, I want to discuss about Agentic for everyone. What I mean for that. As I said, Copilot come to the market, smashed the market. You had a lot of people complaining as normal because, as I'm always saying, developers are like Italian, like me. They are very opinionated. So, and they love their tools. Everyone is using different tools. But the industry as a whole, you had Google coming in, AWS coming in, a new player like Windsurf, like Cursor, as I said, and the standard were a struggle. So initially we were talking about point-to-point solution like extension, we were talking about retrieval augmented generation and the way of making AI more interactive, more productive in the normal dealing that you have day by day. But they were lacking standards. So thankfully, in December last year, so December 2 months ago, oh my gosh, we're already February, end of February. Yes. The main players, so like Google, like Block, OpenAI, Anthropic, came together and they have donated some of the standards that are in AI. And this is important for you to know in general. You can research, I will give you some pointers, with the Agentic AI Foundation. And the Agentic AI Foundation is now part of the Linux Foundation, the same foundation behind CNCF. And if you remember, even CNCF became a big thing because there was the container governance war with different competing platforms, Docker Swarm, Apache Mesos, and then the market shifted on Kubernetes, and Kubernetes is managed basically by the CNCF. We are seeing the same in AI. So when we extend AI in terms of functionality, MCP server, A2A agent communication, the agentic workflow is becoming a standard. The way in which you provide the context is becoming a standard. The framework to build agents is becoming a standard. So the rules are set and are equal for everyone. Of course, every organization, they will have their own take on how to implement this, but it's nice that we are starting having some way for the whole industry to move on some standards. The journey of GitHub Copilot, as I said, this was, I was telling you, it was the autocomplete. It was quite basic. But for someone like me, that English is my second language, even syntax, having get some help on how you spell a command, or whenever you can, you don't have the opportunity to do -H or --help, this kind of stuff, it was already very helpful. But we have seen that helping the developer just while developing was not enough and was not the future, even because from the first survey, for the first interaction that we were having with customer, we saw that developers are spending in general 14% of their time doing actual development. The rest of the time, especially in enterprise and in organization, you are checking pull requests, you are doing documentation, you are doing testing, you are addressing feedback from your people, from the user, from peer developers. So the scope was really to bring AI in the whole software development lifecycle. And even in this space, even when we had this thought, there was a split. There are things that you can do while you are in your IDE. So you can use Copilot in your IDE of choice. Even talking about IDE, some of the players made a fork of the IDE with the AI embedded, like Cursor. Some other went with an extension that you can install in your IDE of choice. Copilot is an extension. But the help is limited once you use the code in the IDE. The good news is that if you use it in the IDE, it doesn't matter where your code is sitting. You can be prototyping and the code can be in your local machine, could be in Bitbucket, could be in any other source code control. To get help in the software development lifecycle itself, there are features that I'm going to discuss that really helps to have the code in GitHub, hosted in GitHub. But with the shift that we are doing to Agentic, even that kind of freedom, there is a lot of freedom that you can achieve in order how you can get AI help, no matter the task that you are in that moment working on in the software development lifecycle. So, because again, I'm Italian and I tend to speak too much, let me just pause 1 second after this storm of words and ask, does it make sense? Is your experience the same? Do you have any feedback or I just move on? And I get the silence as move on, not to be awkward. I just move on. So let's talk a little bit about what we have seen in terms of new announcements that are coming from GitHub and Copilot specifically. First one is Copilot SDK, the software development kit. What it is, basically is a way of interacting, or it's a tool that leverages Copilot CLI that is running on your local environment to call for AI functions inside your application. So if you want to build an application and you want to embed in your application some AI capabilities to achieve a task, you can do this by leveraging Copilot. So the SDK will implement instrumentation to call the CLI API and give you AI capabilities inside your application. So SDK is the key to leverage AI capabilities inside your application using your Copilot subscription. And it's quite powerful because in the meantime, what we have, as I said, when Copilot came out, the one that we're using it initially, if you remember, was a GPT 3.5 Turbo, and that's it. Now Copilot by itself gives you total freedom in terms of the model that you want to use. Copilot support the series of models from Anthropic, so Claude 4.6, the latest, Opus, or the one that is smaller, OpenAI. You can pick the model that you want. And you can pick also the way where you want, for example, if you're using agent mode, where the agents are running, we will show also this one. And you can even call for Claude and OpenAI agent. We will talk about that in a second. So Copilot is now an enabler of AI capabilities around where you want to use it in the same subscription. Let's move on for SDK and talk about the agentic workflow. So when we're discussing about agentic workflow, something came to my mind, and I got a question today that I was thinking. People was asking me, if I have an agent that is doing planning for an application, and I gave him some direction, like think about an application that does have this characteristic. Once it does the plan, I want to pass that plan to another agent that does the actual coding. It's not the agentic workflow, so it's a reverse negation what I'm doing. The agentic workflow that we are talking here is the opportunity to use Copilot agentic capabilities with GitHub Actions. When we talk about GitHub Actions, the misconception is that GitHub Actions is mainly CI/CD. Yes, that is maybe the best or the most common use case, but GitHub Actions is not just CI/CD. GitHub Actions can manage any automation that you want inside your repository and any automation that you want to link to any event that happens, you can trigger an action, anything that happens inside your repository. If you get a pull request, if you get a commit, if you get a review, if you get an issue, anything that happens, you can automate, and you can now use agentic workflow leveraging agent to perform automation. That is quite powerful. Third is about what I was telling you, because people now needs freedom, we are giving the opportunity to use OpenAI and Claude agents from Copilot itself. So even when you are interacting with Copilot and you want to assign a task, or you want to use it for code, or you just want the agentic capabilities to do something for you, you can select agents that are coming from OpenAI and Claude. That is quite powerful. And again, it goes, if there is this is a main message that I would like to take you, is that Copilot is not linked, is becoming really the control panel of your AI strategy, but you maintain freedom on how you want to interact, which agent you want to use, and which model you want to use. And this is, we are going in a second, I'm going to navigate from some repository and some resources that we have. We have this concept of agent skills. So, let's go back in the journey. You were getting assistance while you were coding, was auto-completing the statement for you, or you were giving a prompt through chat. And there was this discussion about context and about the capability of AI to interact with the real world. What I mean. In the first interaction of this kind of tool, they were assisting you while you were coding, but the language model were quite constrained from the knowledge of your specific code base, of your specific coding standard. So a language model in general is very knowledgeable. It can still hallucinate, but let's say that it's quite knowledgeable, but it doesn't know specifically how you do things in your organization, in your way of coding, the standard that you are using. That problem was solved by the new language model. So we have, for example, Claude 4.6 now even available in Copilot that can manage up to 1 million tokens. So basically the amount of context that you can give is enormous. You can give all your code base so that when the language model provides you back a suggestion, is very consistent with what you are doing in your code base. However, you do
a question at that point though. When will we get that million context window in our IDEs?
Oh, yeah, that is the instrumentation that you do. You know that initial. Thank you for your question, Joe, because as I say, when I am in the user group, I'm much more free to go wherever I want. There was a different approach taken from the most common helper in the IDE. You remember that I was telling Cursor. Cursor is a fork of VS Code, so you cannot use it in other IDE, but they did a deep integration with VS Code so that they are bringing almost the same amount of tokens that the model itself has inside the IDE. Because we are an extension, the Copilot extension that you install in JetBrains, in VS Code, in Eclipse. Eclipse, I still use Eclipse. I mean, it's a fair choice. So it's an instrumentation that you do. So basically, not always the amount of context that the model itself is able to consume match what that instrumentation of the extension that you have in the IDE is able to manage. And to be honest, there is one that we have a specific model inside VS Code. I will show you because I have it here, where you have 1 million, that is with Claude 4.6, but at the moment is consuming 6x premium request for obvious reasons.
Because it's the fast.
Yeah,
What's fast? So that's what the difference is on the fast. There we go.
Fast is 30x.
It's 30x.
It's
30x, yes. Yeah, so I was discounting myself. It's very expensive.
There's no pricing commitment right here. So.
No. It's I mean, no, just they are true. I mean, yeah. I still have to pay the mortgage that as the age is said, but yes, we need to consume premium request. And yes, so talking about the context, you don't want to pass, 1 million token every time that you're having an interaction. So there are different ways in which you can help AI consume that. And it depends on the use case. So there is no one solution fits all. It depends on your specificity and what you want to achieve. One is you can give a custom instruction directly in the IDE but also in the repo. You can have an MD file where you provide that context so that anytime that you are interacting is a given. There are skills. Skills is different, is between an integration that you do and a map of knowledge that you provide to AI when it's interacting with you. And you can leverage skills and will be available as tools. A lot of words, it will make sense when I show you in VS Code, but you can provide that kind of context, that kind of knowledge, and the capability of interacting with your own application, with your own knowledge base, with your own code base through skills. So it's a much more logic and linear way. And once you provide skills, the skills are available to any agent that you have. So you have the opportunity to use it on multiple repos. You don't have to maintain skills in each repo like you have for custom instructions. I hope it makes sense. Let me move on. And finally, let's talk about MCP. Even MCP, is anyone working with MCP or is implementing MCP? Some hands? Not many. That is quite surprising. So MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. It came out from Anthropic initially to go beyond another limitation of AI. AI is very knowledgeable, and I always give an example. Put the case that in your organization you are using ServiceNow to manage your IT infrastructure. You can ask Copilot, you can ask AI, how do I open a new service request? And Copilot and the AI will give you, oh, go in this page, click this voice in the menu, but it cannot do it for you because it cannot interact with the real world. MCP is the way of going beyond this limitation, and it's an integration with the real world. So, for example, if you install the MCP server for GitHub or the MCP server for ServiceNow, as I was telling you, you are giving the opportunity to the AI not only to tell you how you open a service request, you can actually ask AI to open a service request for you. Of course, as Stan Lee would say, with great power comes responsibility. So once you give MCP, you open the gate to AI to interact with your world. And there are all a series of considerations around authentication, around security, around how where did you get this MCP? When he's telling you that he's opening a service request, but while he's opening a service request, are we sure that he's not doing anything else dodgy? And here it comes the Italian. But like what I'm saying is there are a lot of security aspects around MCP adoption, and we made some major announcement around MCP that I will show you in terms of trust the MCP that you are integrating. Again, because when you integrate an MCP, it's not only asking for information or asking a way of doing things. You are giving AI the key to something that is in your environment. So there are deep considerations around there. With that, let me just quickly move on the real stuff and show you some of the things that we were discussing about. Fat finger. So this is VS Code that I haven't updated, but it doesn't care. So let's talk, just I want to focus. I have installed Copilot. So in theory, on this repo, I can still get, if I select any file, I have the opportunity to go there and do the autocomplete as I was doing before, and then is my chat window. But where I want you to focus and check some of the functionality that we brought to the market that are new is the way that you can interact with this. First of all, you have now the opportunity, especially in agentic capabilities, to decide where you want to run that specific agent and that specific interaction. When we talk local is in your environment, Copilot CLI, as I said, is the key. Do the interaction directly with the environment or in the cloud. And in my organization, this is driven by the specific settings that I have in my organization. You can even assign the specific task or the specific prompt to an agent that is sitting outside. In this case, Claude. And as I said, as of now,
actually touch.
Oh my gosh. It's, How do I share back?
Plug in, plug back.
Unplug the cable.
Oh, plug. Informatics 101. Lucky that I don't have to restart it. But yeah. Sorry for that. So, and as I said, we already support Claude and OpenAI. I don't have the Codex one, but is a support. Then you get the usual way in which you can interact. You can be agent, you can be ask, or you can ask to plan based on the prompt that you are providing. And the other thing that I can show you is the model that you have. Of course, the model are provided because GitHub is acting as a control plane. It depends on what your administrator is making available as models, but we release models, we follow the market. So every time that we have new models coming from Anthropic or coming from OpenAI that are available, and you can select to make available for your user. And this is the 1 million context. That is a 6.6.
It's only available in
Yeah, we haven't seen that.
We haven't got that internally.
Yeah, sorry, I'm getting, I'm showing off. Yeah, but yes, that is so. That going back to Jerome, this is where you get 1 million, but you have to pay 6 premium requests for each. Yeah, it's a balance. It's a balance. Something that I want to show you also, because the more performant model and the one with more context are consuming more premium requests. Are you familiar? Because we talk about this stuff every day, but are you familiar with the concept of premium request in Copilot? Maybe I just gave a quick refresher. So when you subscribe to a Copilot seat, what you get is GitHub Copilot. So this functionality, you can use it on mobile, you can use it in any way. But when you interact, you have a default model that you can make as many requests, you can interact as much as you can. And each user of Copilot get a set number of premium requests. A premium request is a prompt that you send to one of the premium model. And where you see the multiplier is the number of premium requests that you are consuming every time that you are interacting. Oh, I touched it, but it didn't happen anything. That you interact with that specific model. When you consume all your allocated premium request, you start paying additional price. Organization is still in control because it can set a budget. So basically, when you consume when you consume that budget, you revert back to the default model. To help you in all of this, one of the functionality that we were discussing about was the opportunity to have this auto selection. The selection will select the best model based on the guidance that we have in GitHub. And while we have some time, I will show you some of the links, some of the guidance that we can provide. And if you use the auto selection, you get a 10% discount on the normal selection that you do of the models. And it's very powerful because normally what we have seen in organization, you adopt Copilot, you have always the same bunch of developers consuming all the premium requests for the whole organization. And there is a reason, because if they get in love like Jerome with the 1 million context, then they just tend to leave it as it is, as the default model that you use. Even if you're asking what time is it, you use this one and it's a premium request for just getting. So you should use the model that is best for the specific prompt or the specific capability that you're trying to achieve. This that I want to show you, it's tools. So tools is where you integrate additional capabilities that you are offering to Copilot. The main of this is the MCP servers. As I said, we provided some clarity or some direction on the MCP server. We are even publishing an MCP registry, but there are functionality that you have available in GitHub to select which registry you want to trust or which specific MCP server you want to allow in your organization. Because it's our registry, when you use VS Code, you already get the automation, so it's very easy. Normally, you have to instrument a file to use an MCP server in that repo. If are coming from our registry, you just do install, and the specific capability for each of these MCP server will be available as tool. So when you define your prompt, you define your agent, you define your model, you define when you want to run it, you can even tell which tools you can use to perform that task. So again, this concept of moving from AI assistance coding to give you freedom in terms of how you want to approach any AI task that you have inside your organization. I just want to show you another two things before I show you some links, and then we hand over to Vic. One is Copilot CLI. Let me just increase a little bit. So first of all, go back to HashiQuarium. And people was wondering what it was. Is this one. And yeah, this is memories from when I was a kid. Is it beautiful? And not a lot of people, and there are plenty of 2 cows and stuff that you can do. And this package is maintained to this day. So there are still old people like me maintaining this stuff. That is so cool. Yes. Oh, nothing to do with GitHub. This is just weird people doing weird stuff. But, I mean, in my case, my wife can tell you stuff. So let's talk about Copilot CLI. So Copilot CLI started as a way of interacting with Copilot in your CLI. So it was not doing nothing else that give you the capabilities that you see through the IDE in your CLI. If you look now, if you click Shift Tab, will go exactly from the different mode. It could be from plan mode, it can go in agent mode, you can have the same capabilities. But it's important that you play with the Copilot CLI if you're using Copilot, because this is becoming the way in which you instrument SDK and which you can give access to your local environment. So, and the CLI approach, it's something that is taking place even in the market. To mention a competitor, so that I get fired for sure. Even Claude is coming with a Claude CLI. Wow. If you haven't played, yes, plenty. And you know also anyone playing with anti-gravity from Google. So there are plenty of tools, but the message was. We are doing it in this way. What I was willing to tell you is that the market is moving this way of using CLI to do agentic capabilities at local level. But there are now, as I said, I really love that stuff, that there are standards. There is Agentic AI Foundation that is setting the rules for everyone. Then every organization, Claude, OpenAI, GitHub, will have his own spin on how to instrument these capabilities. But I mean, the whole market is moving in that space. Things that I really want to share before I hand over to Nick. Sorry, I already said it 3 times. This is one of the repository that I really would like you to take note and to visit when you have time. The selection of the name is a little bit particular. It's called Awesome Copilot, and it's part of GitHub. So what it is, Awesome Copilot, is a set of example, because as we were in this journey, we had this prompt engineering that was coming. So we have a lot of example of how you can do prompts. You have a lot of idea of how you can do agents, how you can set instructions, how you can do agentic workflow. That was an announcement that it just came is quite recent. The skills. So Awesome Copilot is, if you're thinking about doing something specific with Copilot and you want an idea on how to start, on how these things are done, just visit this repo and go through around the there is a lot of good content that is available here, is maintained, it's constantly updated, it's completely free, and they give you an idea even to experiment with the latest and greatest that we are doing in the Copilot space. Last part that I want to show you are not the news of the day, of course. Oh my gosh. Yes. Open my, yes, we're almost there.
That's key.
Oh, that's right, it's good. I want to show you the update that we've done, the big update that we have done from a control perspective inside the Copilot itself. So to do that, there is a new set of capabilities that we have done in terms of enterprise level. So I just take the way of going there, but at enterprise level, we have set a new, if you go, this is the enterprise itself that I'm using. If you see there is a new tab at enterprise level, so not at organizational level, that is AI controls. As I was mentioning 2-3 times about GitHub becoming the control panel of your AI strategy around software development lifecycle, this is where you still keep control. First of all, there is around the agents. As you can see, these are the 2 agents that we are supporting right now out of the box that are Claude and the OpenAI Codex. You can bring also custom agents, but most of all, as an enterprise administrator, you maintain the power to decide what you want to be used in your enterprise. So GitHub, it's really about enterprise ready, giving you control on what is happening inside your organization. If you need to go through security validation, if you are in a regulated industry that could be FSI, healthcare, or in a public sector, is important that you know that with GitHub Copilot, you maintain control on what is happening and what you are giving as capability to your user.
So does that include auditability and traceability of agents?
Thank you for the question. It was not organized. I mean, like, no, it's exactly that. It's not only giving you the opportunity to select, oh, this is too cutting edge, or I'm not sure, or is not security validated. It's also that everything that you enable or disable, and even when it's enabled, you use it, is audit, is traced, you get audit log, so you know exactly what is going on. And yes, GitHub sometime, I mean, there is this competition, as I said, is very crowded, the AI market. But you have also to consider that in GitHub and together with Microsoft, we are going to go very heavy in auditability and traceability of what is happening. So giving the opportunity to leverage AI in a secure way. And on top of that, this links back to one of the other big things that Microsoft together with GitHub does, that is providing indemnity for the usage of AI. So to provide indemnity, you need to be safe. And to be safe, you need control. So it's a series of, it's a philosophy that we have around AI adoption to give control, to trace it, and to provide indemnity so that you can have some confidence when you have an AI strategy in your organization. No worries, no worries. In terms of Copilot itself, so what you can do, you have several controls. The one it's around content exclusion that I want to explore. If you want something, again, total control on what you want and you don't want to see with your AI. And on MCP, you have the opportunity to select a registry that you trust. GitHub has its own registry. There is also a registry from VS Code from Microsoft, but you can pick your registry. You can even have your registry through, and maybe Vic, you will briefly touch how you can do it in Azure with the API authentication.
Yeah.
Do you want?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. So basically, some of the common scenarios or common pattern that we're seeing in kind of setting up MCP, because it's such an important feature for enterprise, right? In that you want to make sure that it's secure, right? Because with MCP, it's defined per spec. It's a little bit at the beginning of that, at the outset. Sorry.
turn your mic on.
So thank you. At the outset, it wasn't really designed with enterprise security. There's some new specification that just been gone through around OAuth support and so on. But what we do see in that with this allow list, you can actually build MCP registry within API Center in APIM. So you can do something like that where the MCP is basically only accessible within your enterprise, and then you build that registry and then the URL in this. Yeah, so that's kind of a pattern that we're seeing. But then there's other kind of different platforms that you can as well to host your MCP. So yeah.
And to go back to our organization, I just want to give really the last piece of information. That is, when we talk about freedom of choice and what you can provide, let's talk about the models that are available, because we are updating models and capability all the time. So at this point, we are at organizational level, so we are a step down. If we go in settings and I look at the models, and I look, sorry, I cannot, yes, be what it was before. When we talk about models, you can see the list of the models that are available. That is a huge list and is very different from the GPT 3.5 Turbo where we started, but it was good. But basically, we are updating constantly this list of models that are available, depending on what your organization administrator, the one is providing you access to Copilot, decides. You can enable or disable, so you can make a model available or not. You can do it also for a premium request reason. You can set budget, but basically you have total control on the model that you want to leverage inside Copilot. Now that I remember, there is something, because we talk always about the market. And talking about the market, there is a specific page that I want to leave you with, that is at enterprise level, because we got a lot of feedback initially around Copilot about metrics. Anyone that is using AI at the end wants, it's a philosophical discussion on how you measure the impact of AI in your software development lifecycle on the productivity of your developers. And this is a philosophical discussion that is coming from a long ago, because even before AI, measuring developer productivity has always been a controversial topic. Do I see the number of commits? Do I see the number of PRs? It's difficult. There are several framework that were there, but there is an API, a Copilot API that you can use to get the data. But in the enterprise, what we have added and is available as of now, there is a series of predefined and out-of-the-box available metrics that your administrator can go there and check to have an idea of at least how AI is leveraged and used in your organization. And there are two specific tabs. One is about the usage itself of Copilot inside the enterprise. I won't go from each of them, but there are several that are out of the box. You still maintain the opportunity to have all these metrics through the API, but this is just because other vendors were very nice in presenting dashboarding and data. So we were trying to close the gap and provide some of this. And the other one is on code generation. So we have these two sets of statistics and the visualization that are available out of the box, where you can get an idea of how AI has been used, which model, the completion, the chat, and all of this is available out of the box in your enterprise.
I think 24 hours ago, there's an announcement that the metrics that are usually available only at the enterprise level, it's also available on organization level. So take a look at that change log, and yeah, it is now available at the O level as well. So yeah.
With that, I reached the conclusion of what I was willing to tell you. That was a storm of words, and please bear with me and just forgive me. Again, this is the page that I was willing to invite everyone to take a look at. this is not GitHub. This is coming from Microsoft. Google has provided some of the project has provided the A2A. If you're not familiar, is the agent to agent. There were two standards that were competing, A2A and ACP from IBM. ACP collapsed to A2A, and now A2A has been ACP A2A. Sorry, the standard have been donated to the foundation. So we have a standard for agents to interact and share information among them. This was donated by Google. MCP was a project that started in Anthropic, has been donated to the foundation. Goose was coming from Block, that is a payment company in US, and Goose is about a framework to build an agent, has been donated. The Agent MD is a standard to pass instruction and content, and this was coming from Google itself. And finally, A2UI, it's a way of building a user interface for agent, and this was coming from OpenAI. So as you can see in this foundation, you have I will say the fathers of AI, like Anthropic, OpenAI, Google, Microsoft itself, GitHub, all coming together and adopting the same standard. So, and this foundation is part of the Linux Foundation, the same as CNCF. So take a look, because it's where the market, where the industry is going as a standard.